in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WWDB, its staff, or management.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB. And now, your host, Philadelphia Councilman David O.
Good afternoon. It's David O. You're In the Know with me. Hey, another Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Today we have got a great show for you. It's great because of our guests. First, we're going to hear from Shane Claiborne. He's a founder, speaker, and best-selling author. He established something here in Philadelphia called The Simple Way. And in addition to that, he is very heavily followed. He speaks about 100 times a year. He actually went out as a young man, reached Mother Teresa, went to India, and he does some really dynamic, interesting things. Kind of Christ as the counterculture, being authentic and living out his beliefs and setting an example. Then we're going to hear from what could I call, rock group. Ill-fated Natives. They were one of the finalists in the PHL Live Center Stage Rock category 2015. And we are going to hear some music from them, talk to them as well. Very dynamic, three dynamic young men. And we're going to hear about Schuylkill Banks. You might have seen it. I've seen it. You know, you have the boardwalk, really fantastic. And did you know there's free movie nights, kayaking, a bunch of other things? But that's not all. There is work going on. It's a work in progress that's going to connect the trails and really do some dynamic things for Philadelphia. But what was that before? Do you remember? Well, it was inaccessible. It was really part of a CSX train area, the railroad, and there was not much accessibility. It's a shame, right? Because it's a beautiful area right next to the river, and we are talking with the president and CEO, Joseph Syrnick, from Schuylkill River Development Corporation. He's going to tell us what's going on and what we can look forward to. And by the way, if you're interested in like how a city can be a better place to live, how it emerges, well, he'll be able to talk about that because he's got a great background. But first, let me thank our show's sponsor, Weinerman Pain and Wellness, the wonderful work they do in helping people to get back to life, get back to being active, and having a healthy attitude as they recuperate from their injuries. Weinerman Pain and Wellness is one of our show's sponsors, Philly Labor. Thank you so much for supporting this show. This show tries to bring you experts, decision makers, celebrities at times, and regular people out there who are impacting all of us in our region in a positive way. Let me just say that, yes, I didn't forget, today is the drawing, right? So what happens is we have a YouTube channel. You go to youtube.com, type in the Know with David O, and you subscribe. So please do, because we have so many wonderful guests who have shared their wisdom and experience, and you can listen to what they have to say there. But we are going to draw some winners who are going to get 4 tickets to 3 different concerts. One is going to be Monica. The other is going to be Fantasia and Babyface. And the third is going to be Erykah Badu. So 3 separate concerts, and we'll do that later on in the show. But right now, let me start with our first guest, and that is Shane Claiborne. He lives here in Philadelphia in the Kensington section, and he has done some very interesting things. So, Shane, welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be with you, brother.
All right, fantastic. Now, you and I met just like a few days ago.
That's right. Yeah, you had the honor and privilege of coming up to our neighborhood. No, we loved having you. It was great.
No, thank you very much. And actually, the first time I met you was outside of City Hall.
That's right.
Do you remember what you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was right after we've had multiple deaths in our neighborhood from drug overdoses, and as school was letting out and kids are hitting the street, we just have, unfortunately, there's a lot of things I love about my neighborhood, but the drugs are one of the things that we're really working to heal. And there were needles everywhere, so the kids know not to touch them. They tell an adult, so we started gathering them in a safe way and putting them in jars. And then we're like, geez, what do we do with all of these jars full of heroin needles?
When you say a safe way, listen, I mean, he's putting these heroin needles in a jar, and they're full of, like, glue or something, right?
Well, originally we just had them in these glass jars because we were like, we don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want to just throw them in the trash where, some of our sanitation workers could hit them. So we put them in these jars, and then there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And it was such a powerful visual of the crisis of drug addiction. And so really, together with the kids, they had the idea, let's expose this by taking it to City Hall and to some other folks that so that maybe we can get some help with it. And so we did put epoxy in them,
Yes,
and on the top, the kids, we had quotes from the kids. And it said, ironically on the top, it said, we made this safe for you, now help make our streets safe for us.
Right.
And we took those and we delivered them. You got a jar.
I did. I got a jar.
We took one to the mayor, the public health officials, all over. And it got a lot of attention. And I'm glad it did because, we want to say the kids in our zip code are just as valuable as the kids in any other zip code. And that drug addiction isn't just about a crime needing punishment. It's about a disease that needs healing and help. And we need, we had a number of folks that are recovering from drug addiction that were there with us at City Hall as well.
Well, that was my introduction to you and your organization, and I got someone on my staff, Matt Pershey, and he's a big fan of yours. I call him a stalker. I said, be careful. He stalks you because he's been out there, hear you, he goes, reads your books, he knows all about you. And he said, that's Shane Claiborne. And so I got my first introduction.
He's easily impressed.
Well, not so easily because he's not impressed with me. I don't know. But anyway, he was a great introduction, and I thought, wow, that's a very good way of getting the message out about the kids, about the problems of addiction, and the fact that we in government and we in society, we need to do more. Yeah. Well,
and we don't want more jails. We want more, safe places for folks to recover, and but the kids, they're the heartbeat of what we do in North Philly.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So you're not originally from Philadelphia. I can tell by your accent. Where are you from originally?
I'm not ashamed of it. I've been here 20 years, but I still got my southern drawl, and I grew up in East Tennessee.
Okay.
And in the mountains. And,
oh my goodness! All right.
I still love Tennessee, but I fell in love with Philly, and I've been here 20 years. Feels like home.
You came to Philadelphia to go to college, is that right?
Yeah, I went to a great college, Eastern University, right outside of Philly. And I always like, how Karl Barth, he was a great thinker in the church. He said, we got to read the Bible in one hand, but we need to read the newspaper in the other. Because our faith shouldn't just be a ticket into heaven and a license to ignore the world around us, but our faith should actually compel us to care about injustice and things like that. So I studied sociology and I studied the Bible.
And you ended up with some of your friends from college coming into Philadelphia to do work with the homeless.
Yeah. It was in 1995. I think I was a sophomore back in the 1900s. I was a sophomore in college, and we literally read in the newspaper about these homeless moms and children that had no place to go. There were like 3,000 families on the waiting list for affordable housing, and really out of desperation, they looked at all of our abandoned buildings, and 20,000 abandoned houses, and they're like, this doesn't make any sense. And they found this abandoned church building, and they began living there. And this article said church resurrected, and it told the story, but then it ended by saying that the response of the archdiocese wasn't great, that they were given an eviction notice. Right. But they were brilliant. They hung a banner on the front of the church, and it said, how can we worship a homeless man on Sunday and ignore one on Monday? And they stayed there, and it was amazing. So it really sparked a student movement on our campus, but a bunch of other students and neighbors and other folks in Philly got involved, and that was a spark that kind of set things off for us. And then out of that, a lot of those families got housing, are still dear friends, and actually got married in that old cathedral
Oh,
at 8th
did
and
you?
York.
Wow, okay.
But-
I didn't know that.
And then we moved into the neighborhood, and that was about 20 years ago.
So about 20 years ago, you as a college student, you come into Philadelphia to do stuff with homelessness, and 20 years later, there you are living in the community. You have purchased rehabilitated homes. You have provided a way for people who may have been drug addicted or otherwise to own a home, to live in a community. You provide food to those who are hungry. Is that what it means, the simple way? What does that mean?
Well, the name, the Simple Way, actually, we were kind of inspired by Mother Teresa. She said, following Jesus or loving our neighbor is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And so that kind of the simplicity of that's what we set out to do. And a lot of what we do was very much just getting to know neighbors, helping kids with homework. We knew folks that were hungry, so we started sharing food, started a little food bank. We did all this. And then I love how Dr. King said, we're all called to be the good Samaritan and lift our neighbor out of the ditch. But after you lift so many people out of the ditch, you start to say, maybe we need to rethink the whole road to Jericho. We've got to figure out what's landing people in the ditch to begin with. So that's where we become really involved around inequities in the school system and mass incarceration, gun violence, and all the other things. It's all part of loving our neighbor, though, for us.
Now, there is a thing that's interesting about you. One is you pretty much, from college, getting involved in this work, it's kind of the life of poverty in a sense, maybe not absolute poverty, but it's not certainly a lucrative life. You're living in the hood, you're doing all these things. But one of the ways that you have been able to contribute is the fact that you wrote a book, Irresistible Revolution, and it is a bestseller. And last I heard, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that the book has produced at least $500,000 that you have given away to other good-meaning organizations. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, when I wrote the book, we had no idea how many copies it would sell. I was like, I think my mom will buy a lot, but I'm not sure who else will. But yeah, it sold a lot of copies, but from the very beginning, it's interesting because we said this money, we want to share it. So we listed in the back about 100 different groups, and now it's up to like 250 or something. Just groups that are doing really holistic, beautiful work in the world. A lot of them are here in Philadelphia. So we set up basically a little foundation that we share the money from that book together with them, and we list a bunch of those in the back. And it only made sense to me, because these are people that have inspired our story. And yeah, the early Christian, Jesus said, sell everything you have and give it to the poor. The early Christians had a really radical ethic that they said, we have no right to keep more than we need while someone else has less than they need. So, I've never really thought of charity as a great virtue, but it's just kind of what's expected. If you find yourself in a place where you accumulate money, then you have more to give away in ways that hopefully give life and dignity to other people. So I don't think it's, a great virtue or something. It just kind of makes sense. I live off the same living stipend I've lived off of forever, and yet we're able to share and support a lot of really great work.
How were you impressed by Mother Teresa?
Well, there's someone. She lived like everything she had in a box, and I know, when we were just our community was just starting. We were like 19 years old, and nothing's impossible when you're that young. So we wrote her a letter. We prayed. We're like, we hope we get a letter back from Mother Teresa, and it never came. But that didn't stop us. We just started calling nuns on the phone, and we're like, we want to work with Mother Teresa. We're trying to figure out how to do love and justice in the world. And so we called this nun, gave us a phone number. We called, and she picked up the phone.
Mother Teresa did.
Yeah, I was expecting like a polite, receptionist, missionaries of charity. How can we help you? I just hear, hello. I'm like, we're trying to get a hold of Mother Teresa or some of the sisters in Calcutta, India. I'm calling from the United States. She's like, this is Mother Teresa. I'm like, and I'm the Pope. But she was awesome. She said, come on out. We would love for you to come. And so we did. And one of the things I learned from being there, so many things I learned. But one of the things she said is, Calcuttas are everywhere if we'll only have eyes to see. So find your Calcutta. You don't have to go across the world to find folks that are suffering from injustice and inequity. And so we came back to Philly really inspired by what we experienced in India to do the same kind of work here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that kind of is why I wanted to talk to you on the show, because there's talk and there's walk. And then there's walk that nobody wants to do. Like, that's too much walking, right? In other words, don't just talk, walk the walk, but wait a minute, that's way too much walking. So what happens is, like you said, the simple way, like Mother Teresa, really living your faith, living without really that much means, not living in luxury, doing all those things. And then you did a couple other things. You went to Afghanistan, you went to Iraq to basically protest the war.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember actually being here in Philly right after 9/11, and all kinds of things happened. But someone dropped a banner at one point from City Hall that said, "Let's kill them all and let God sort them out." So there were people, dealing with their anger and grief and trauma in different ways. But then I heard a different message that was from direct victims of 9/11. It was their family members, mothers, fathers, husbands and wives of people who were killed in 9/11. And as they saw the war ensue, their message became, "Our grief is not a cry for war. Please don't kill in the name of our loved ones." And they had been to Iraq and Afghanistan, so I got a call saying, would you go? And I went, and it made a lot of sense to me that we can grieve and be outraged by what happened at 9/11 without becoming the evil we abhor and, taking more lives. And so I went to Iraq. I've been there a couple times and been to Afghanistan once, but I went with veterans, with pastors, medical professionals, nurses and doctors, and we were there through the bombing of Baghdad. We lived in Baghdad and volunteered in the hospitals, spent time with Iraqi families, went to prayer services, and also documented what we were seeing and experiencing. And I saw some of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life, but I also had my eyes open to hope and courage and resilience. I remember talking to this one bishop. There was hundreds and hundreds of Christians, all different denominations, that had gathered to pray for peace and an end to the bombing. And they sang Amazing Grace in Arabic. And I was so moved. I had like tears rolling down my face. And I came up to the bishop and I said, "I had no idea there were so many Christians in Iraq." And this bishop said to me, "Yeah, this is where it started." And he said, "You didn't invent Christianity in North America. You guys just domesticated it." And he said, "You go back and you tell the church in North America that we in Iraq are praying for them. We're praying for them to be a voice for peace and to stand against this violence." So they inspired me.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, for example, we were talking and I said, well, what about ISIS? I mean, can you protest ISIS as well? Will they put their guns down? And how does that work out in your perspectives on being authentic?
Well, first of all, I think it's so important that it's taken a long time to create the hostilities and anger that we have. There's a whole historic backdrop of crusades and all the terrible things I think Christians have done and we've done to each one another. And one Iraqi man said to me, he said, when it comes to weapons, you've got more than anybody in the world. And we have some weapons because you sold them to us and you have the receipts. And he said, Saddam Hussein didn't come out of nowhere. And he said, we've got two enemies, your government and ours. And this is back when Saddam Hussein was still in power. But since then, I think we've just seen that Dr. King was right. When you add fire to fire, you just get more fire. Like, violence doesn't drive out violence. And a lot of what I've seen from Iraq veterans and Afghanistan veterans that have come back, they've said, I went there convinced I was getting rid of evil, but I felt like we were creating it. We were fueling the hostilities. And one of my friends, who's a deeply committed Christian now, he said, I felt like I was holding a cross in one hand and a machine gun in the other. And I have Jesus saying, love your enemy, and my government saying, kill them. And I couldn't reconcile those. And he came back, and he's actually written a book about his experience there called For God and Country, in that order.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because, as I said, talking the talk, walking the walk, but not walking that far. In other words, yeah, being a good Christian, having your faith and your beliefs, but not going that extreme, but you go that extreme. You're kind of like, kind of saying to people, take your faith all the way. as the example of Christ. Because I would say, listen, a lot of people, myself included, would say, okay, that's very nice, but in this circumstance, it don't work. So let's take the Bible and Jesus, put it in that nice shelf, lock it up, take out our weapons, deal with this, and when we're done, we'll open that shelf, take them back out. But you're basically saying, you got to live your faith here at home and as a nation and some other things. And whether people agree with you or don't, I think, people got to respect that you are walking the walk and certainly causing people to think about it. I had a little incident myself that we shared.
Yeah.
I was stabbed and somebody said to me, well, if you had a gun, that probably wouldn't have happened. And I said, listen, first of all, I used to carry a gun, and I support the Second Amendment. Let me be clear. I support the Second Amendment. I just choose not to have a gun. I choose not to carry a gun. I would certainly not want to shoot anybody. And if somebody stabbed me, as they did, first of all, I didn't have a gun. If I did, I wouldn't have shot him anyway. But my friends of old, they don't like to hear that. They're like, you're not the same guy you used to be. And I say, yeah, I really am not. I've changed. I've changed, and I have thought more and more and kind of, over the time that, I was 24 till now, I have kind of reflected and my perspectives have changed. The young man who stabbed me is 24. I need the public to be safe. On the other hand, I would love for him to have the time to reflect on his life, to mature, to change his perspectives, and to live a worthwhile, fulfilling, and happy life, if that is at all possible. But I shouldn't just wish it. I should try to do something about it.
No, it's great, man.
No, but basically what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, I haven't gone as far as you have, but
I think that what happens is we encourage each other. We give each other courage, and all the stories I just told are all in the context of people who were pushing me further. I went to,
like Mother Teresa, right?
Yeah,
you can't get much more of a push than that.
But I live in community. I went to India with other people, went to Iraq and Afghanistan with other people, and I've come to really believe that courage is contagious. So is fear. We see fear as contagious. But courage is contagious too. We see Kaepernick. We see Rosa Parks. We see different folks that are doing courageous things right now.
Right.
And I think they can stir us to be courageous. And when you're a teenager, you're always told peer pressure is a bad thing, and I think it can be, but I think peer pressure can be a great thing if we hang around people that look like the person we want to become. If we want to be more courageous, we hang out with courageous people and they rub off on us. And I think that's all I've done, And I look at Jesus too, and I mean, for me, I can't imagine being any more courageous than what he did and embodied to us. And that's why I'm puzzled all the time when I meet Christians that are like, oh my gosh, my life was such a mess, and then I met Jesus. I'm like, man, my life was pretty together, and I met Jesus, and he messed me up. I'm looking at the Beatitudes, where Jesus says, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the peacemakers. And they are the antithesis of the things that we've come to admire and celebrate in America. So, I mean, it's a very different model, I think, to run after.
Well, it's very interesting. For folks who want to learn more about you, maybe come visit with you and disagree or agree, support, whatever, where do they go? How do they get in touch with you? How do they support your work?
We love having folks come spend time with us. So we're on the web at thesimpleway.org, and we're on Facebook and Twitter, too. And I also keep a lot of updates when we're renovating an abandoned house, need a bunch of hands to do demos and things like that. So I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Shane Claiborne.
Shane Claiborne. And I think you have like 73,000 Twitter friends or something.
I take your word for it. Yeah. Who's counting? Yeah.
Well, that's certainly a measure of something. Thank you very much for joining with us and certainly setting an example. People may agree or disagree. Listen, I love folks who can bear to disagree with folks. I love folks who agree. I love folks who support. But I got to respect someone who walks the walk.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. So listen, everybody, stay tuned. We got to take a commercial break. We're going to have some music. It's interesting music, right? Maybe kind of along the same lines we're just talking about from ill-fated natives right after this break.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Kraus. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness, on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
All right, we are back. I hope you were listening because we had a fantastic conversation with Shane Claiborne, founder of The Simple Way, best-selling author, and a very popular speaker. He has done just an amazing work here in Philadelphia. And you can see him, you can find him. He's right out in Kensington, living the life, walking the walk, as we say. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to some music. This first song that we're going to hear, 2+2, comes from the single from a Philadelphia group, Ill-Fated Natives.
Yeah, that's right. Bad chips like yeah. We'll let you guys prophesy. We gon' see the future first.
Ultimately, at this hour, the entire government has failed us.
Everything that you know
All right, that is some hard electric guitar. That is, that is kind of like the electric heavy metal rock, and I kind of call it like Jimi Hendrix because I'm an older guy. But anyway, we have ill-fated natives right here in the studio. 3 young men. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. My name is Betts Charmelus. I play the bass.
Yeah, I'm Joey Sticks. I play the drums.
My name is Anthony Thompson, and I'm the guitarist and vocalist for the band.
Okay, first, where'd you get the name Ill-Fated Natives?
That was that's a good question. That was a series of names that we kind of threw at the wall, and it kind of stuck. It made sense. Ill-fated natives. It's very self-aware. It's almost speaking to how, as musicians, we make music with our instruments, and a lot of people don't do that today. So it's ill-fated. It's almost gone the way of the dinosaur, in a way. But it's native. It's where everything started. It's where music started.
Is there a message or a theme to your music? Is it just good fun? What's your group about?
I feel like we have themes that are all around, but what it all comes back to is what Beth said: self-awareness, and just we believe that everything comes from the earth, and when it's all said and done, that's where it's going to go back. So it's a constant movement and recycling of the earth's power and energy and what's around us. So we're just all about the community and spreading love and power and like our message through music.
Now, the song we just heard, you guys wrote that.
Yes.
And 2 plus 2, right?
Yeah.
And so you write your own music. How did the 3 of you get together, and who does what in your band?
So the 3 of us came together through the experience of another band.
Okay.
And the Nameless, we were like a 5-piece roots-inspired band.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of broke down into just its base elements, which is us 3. And our responsibilities are largely shared out, like even outside of the music. We share responsibilities. Each one of us have our different strong suits,
What is yours? Because you're vocal and guitar, your lead guitar. What do you do?
I would say that's the largest portion of what I bring to the band. Writing, we all write and arrange.
Right. Performance,
yes.
Yeah.
Again, shared responsibility.
Yeah, and how about on electric guitar? Does that just come to you magically, or do you like kind of pre-think that?
It's like walking for this guy.
Tell them how you started.
So, electric guitar. I am the electric guitarist of the Guitar Hero generation.
Is that how you started?
Yes.
All right.
I started, the second Guitar Hero came out, and a bunch of friends were telling me this is a great game. And I buy out of fascination, and I couldn't shake the feeling somehow that because I could play these 5 buttons pretty well, that I could actually, I was really into these buttons, and I felt like I can do this on the actual instrument.
When did you get your first guitar? How old were you?
16 years of age. It was the summer, don't got the year, June 26.
Okay.
10 years ago.
Right. And did you just take it like a fish to water, or was it a struggle?
It felt very, very natural to me.
Right.
Something that felt like a comfortability to it that almost transcended the amount of time I had spent up with it up to that point.
Right.
So it's definitely pushed me in a direction to keep going at all costs to find out what's on the other end of the natural inclination I have for the instrument.
Right. Now, how about the bass? Where does that fit into your group?
I think the bass is exactly that. It's the bass. It's the foundation. Me and this guy right here to my left, we kind of hold it down so that he can go ahead and just explore whatever ideas he may need to
so the
explore.
vocals and the guitar is exploring while the bass and the drums are holding it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes we kind of have to bring him back. Like, come on, come back.
He's walking too far, right? Talking walk. He's out there with the electric guitar.
But the bass is part of the rhythm section is just the two of us, and we kind of just push songs and move them forward and just take them to different places.
What do you think, you two, the bass and the drums, what do you bring into this music that is different?
I feel like what we bring is the gospel. That's everywhere. I come from a generation, like my peers, we all grew up in church. I started playing in church. So that would be one thing, because every time we play, there's always a higher power that's given to us. I actually, I'm a firm prayer before every performance. So like, even if it's just like a couple seconds with myself, or if it's like with us as a whole, like, I still make it the prayer, like, let me decrease 100%, and you increase 100%. So it's really that, but above all of that is really the chemistry, the time we spend together with each other, all three of us, that you just build a relationship, and when we get on that stage, it's more of that relationship, just because that's what we really do.
Yeah, let me say that I've seen you guys perform. 2015, Milk Boy, you were finalists, selected by three outstanding people. I mean, you got Brent Porsche, WMMR, Tommy Joyner from Milk Boy, and David Ivory. Man, that guy, nationally respected engineer, producer. Those three guys picked out 5. You guys performed live. Electrifying, fantastic. You had a big fan base there. For folks who want to see you live, because I've done that, and I'm sure you've gotten even better since then, where can they find out about your music, where you're playing, and do you have any performances coming up that people can check out?
Sure, we're online. We're on all the social media outlets, so Instagram, Twitter. It's Ill Fated Natives, ILLFATED Natives, NATIVES. We've got a show coming up right now that hasn't been officially announced, but I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We're playing at Underground Arts with Hard Work Movement. Yeah. So, we're going to be playing there. That's the 15th of September.
Okay.
And it's funny that you mentioned David Ivory, because we just dropped a song yesterday called Blind Man, where he co-produced the song.
Oh, fantastic. He's great.
Yeah, and that partnership really came from, if it wasn't for, all the work you're doing with PHL Live.
Thank you.
You've done a lot for musicians in the city.
I love to hear that it's working out good.
For sure. And that's where, that's really the child of that partnership. So, we have a release party for that coming out August 6th. So people can just go on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and see like when we're going to play, what, and things of that nature.
Okay, and another thing happened yesterday. You just came out with another single.
Yeah, the single's called Blind Man.
Okay, well, listen, everybody. You're going to hear that single right now. right. So listen, everybody, if you want to hear more, you got to catch Ill-Fated Natives. Support them. Get their music. See them in concert. And they are going to be doing more and more great things. So listen, I want you to stay tuned because, one, we're going to draw our winners for the concerts at the Dell Music Center. Monica, this Thursday, actually, July 27th. Fantasia on August the 3rd. And Erica Badu, August the 10th, right after this commercial break.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Krause. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
At any given moment, somewhere in America, a baby is taking a first step, a developmental milestone. But for too many parents, a baby's first steps aren't just a milestone. They're a miracle. These are the parents of babies who were born prematurely or with birth defects. It's a crisis affecting more than 500,000 babies in the United States each year. You can help them by joining volunteers like you who walk in March for Babies. The money you raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Together, our steps make stronger, healthier babies a reality for thousands of families. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org to take the steps that help make milestones and even miracles possible. Who will you march for?
Introducing the YMCA. What, you already know the why? Or so you think. Sure, you know the why for a swim, a workout, even a game of hoops. But did you know we're more than that? We're a cause. When you take your jump shot at the why, someone else is getting job training. Take a cardio class, while kids are in an after-school enrichment program. Practice your downward-facing dog as a teen practices her leadership skills. That's the why. We work with people no matter their age, income, or background and give them the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, all with one simple goal in mind, to strengthen our community. And we've got so much more that does just that. So while you might think of the Y as that place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. Introducing the Y. We're so much more than a place. We're a cause. Visit ymca.net/more.
All right, we're back. You're in the know with David O. Thank you for joining me, and please join me again next week. We'll have another great show, 2 to 3, here on WWDB 860 AM. Well, listen, here is the moment of truth. I am sitting next to Shane Claiborne. He is honest as they come. He doesn't even have shirt sleeves on. So I'm going to ask him to pull out 3 tickets, or 3, I guess, whatever we call them. 3 of them. Just hold them in your hand, 3 of them. And he's going to give them to me, and I will announce the winners. Okay, so let's start with number 1. This is for this Thursday, so listen, I mean, please give me a ring or, if you want to get this ticket some other different way, but you can come to City Hall, room 319, pick up your ticket there, City Hall, room 319, because it is this Thursday, July 27th. The concert is Monica, and that will be at the Dell, and the winner is, number 106, which is John Meng, M-A-E-N-G. John Meng, you're the winner. 4 tickets to Monica. So you can bring your 3 girlfriends or whomever you want to bring. Oh, sorry about that. No, you go with your friends, have a great time. So I hope someone on our staff has written out John Meng. Okay, I get the thumbs up. Monica. Next is, the winner is T Diamond. T Diamond, you have won 4 tickets, August the 3rd, Dell Music Center, Fantasia and Babyface. 4 tickets, that would be a great time. Again, if you have another way you'd like us to get these tickets, please shoot me an email, davidoRadioshow@gmail.com, davidoRadioshow@gmail.com. And now our final winner is Caramel Peach. Is that your real name? It's anyway, Caramel Peach. Caramel Peach, you have won 4 tickets to Erica Badu, August the 10th. 4 tickets. So, congratulations. Listen, everybody, please subscribe. I hate to see wasted wisdom. Speaking of which, our final guest is a well-known person here in Philadelphia. You may not know his name. When I say well-known, a lot of insiders know who he is because he has been doing things in Fairmount Park, dealing with our environment, our livability, and that is Joseph Syrnick. He is currently President and CEO of the Schuylkill River Development Corporation. You may think of them as Schuylkill Banks. You may know them by the beautiful boardwalk you see in the Schuylkill River, but that's not all that they do. And to tell us about it is Joe Syrnick. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Councilman.
Tell our guests, before we get into this, because you have a very substantial career here in Philadelphia, tell our folks how you got involved in this in the first place.
Well, I was working with the city. I was in the streets department, and for the last 18 years of my 35-year career, I was the city's chief engineer. And during that time, the streets department actually built the first section of what is now Schuylkill Banks. And then at some point, I learned that a small nonprofit was looking for a leader to continue that work, and it was a perfect time for me, and the work appealed to me, and I applied for the job, and here I am.
So what does the job entail? What did you apply for? Now that you got it, what are you doing?
So we are a small nonprofit. We have 5 full-time people, but we're working in partnership with the city to plan, design, construct, maintain, and program the Schuylkill Trail in lower part of Philadelphia. This is basically the tidal Schuylkill River, which is from the Fairmount Dam at the Art Museum down to the Delaware River.
Right.
Now, that's a stretch of 8 miles, and we are going to build a trail eventually, that whole 8 miles. It'll take a while. We've got about 3.5 miles built, and we have about another mile under construction right now. And everything we do, and I want to make this really clear, is in partnership with the city. And I would say in that partnership, SRDC, my organization, is the junior partner. We could do virtually nothing with the city without the city. And we're just thrilled with the city administration, and, of course, City Council has been so supportive of our work over the last 13 years that I've been there.
Well, it's certainly, very notable and a lot of praise. And I look at these beautiful pictures of Philadelphia from that vantage point along the river. And, of course, we got that boardwalk right in there. And so I wasn't really sure why we had that boardwalk, other than it was cool to walk through the river. But you told me today that it's really part of a trail. So tell our listeners kind of how did that boardwalk come about?
So let's start with the whole trail. So this land where the trail is at one time was all industrial. And in fact, you had no public access to the riverfront. Even if you lived in the neighborhoods, you could not see the river. All that industry left town, and this land became very vacant and fallow. At some point, the city sort of got religion, if you will, and figured out this was a really nice river, and they looked at other cities around the United States, and especially cities in Europe that have done such a wonderful job with their waterfronts.
Yes.
And they decided to start to build a trail and a greenway. And this started in the year 2000. It started up near the Art Museum, sort of built the Center City section of the trail, which was kind of the low-hanging fruit, if you will. And then when we got down to Locust Street, the railroad, which runs along the trail, gets closer and closer to the riverbank, such that there was no room to put a trail on land. And we were stymied for a while, not knowing what to do. But then somebody got an idea, well, why don't we just build a structure out in the river, parallel to the river's bank, to carry the trail? And when we broached that idea, we were told, don't bother, don't go there, you could never afford it, and you would never get permitting for it. And, of course, neither of those things is correct, because the trail and the boardwalk opened in 2014. And it provides, I think, a very different experience. You're really out in the river. It's expensive construction. We didn't do it because we wanted to be pizzazzy. We did it because we had to. And as soon as we can get back on land, we're going to be back on land, because that's, I think, where a trail ought to be.
Yeah, so even though it may not have been really kind of like intended as a separate entity, it has its own identity and has really been kind of like a iconic thing now for the city, and really speaks to a lot of young people in particular. Come to Philadelphia, enjoy Philadelphia. This is the kind of city we are. And so it's really generated a lot of interest, a lot of tourism, a lot of investment, I think, and people who want to live and recreate in and around that area.
That's right. And I'll tell you, when I first started here, I figured we were building or intending to build a recreational trail. But the more you get into it, you realize that this is, yes, it's recreational because people are running there and biking there, but it's also environmental. It's helping to clean the water because it's a filter before the water runs into the river. It's also a transportation thing. We get a lot of commuter use down the boardwalk, which is something we did not expect. It's also really healthy living, which is really different than recreation. This is where people go out and exercise and sort of do their health kind of thing. But the biggest thing and the most important thing it's an economic development engine, because if you look along this part of the riverfront, there's a large number of buildings that are being built or redeveloped. There's lots of cranes there. And I think this is really the city's rationale for spending this kind of money to build this recreational trail, which is really much more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's bringing in people. People are moving back into the city like empty nesters because of all the city has to offer, and the trail becomes part of that. It's really improving the quality of life for people in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of cool things to do there because of, this was inaccessible, cleaned it up, remediated, did all that, and now it has things like free movie nights.
That's right, and I'll tell you, we were originally focused on building the trail, but this takes forever because it's complicated. So our board said we want people to enjoy this trail right now, so what can you do? So we started a program of kayak tours where you can rent kayaks as part of a group.
Yep.
You can take a ride on a riverboat. Wow. And the most popular thing we have is movie nights. And it's popular because it's totally free. We have a movie night every Thursday in season, which is the summer. We rotate between Center City near Walnut Street and in Gray's Ferry down near Wharton Street with a free movie.
For folks, because you can't see this if you're listening to the radio, but by the way, he's got 3 beautiful pamphlets that talk about these events. But for folks who want to see that schedule, where can they access that?
Probably the best thing to do is go to our website, which is schuylkillbanks.org. And it'll give you the whole schedule of everything, and it'll tell a lot about what we do and how to get there and where to park and just where to come out and have a good time.
Okay, fantastic. And moving forward, eventually the rest of that trail is going to be finished. It's going to connect, and people will be able to have a contiguous trail to where? I mean, it's pretty long, isn't it?
Right now, if you're on a bike in Center City, you can go just about to Valley Forge, almost 99.9% on trail. There's two little places where you have to get off. We are working to take it the other way towards the Delaware River. We're going to connect to Bartram's Gardens, and then eventually historic Fort Mifflin.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, thank you for joining me. Listen, we had some great guests. Let me just shout out for everyone that August 17th is First Responder Appreciation Day here in Philadelphia. Please keep our first responders in mind, those who put themselves out, firefighters, police officers, emergency medical, EMTs. Just say thank you. Well, listen, join me next week for another In the Know with David O.
You've been listening to In the Know with David O. on 860 AM WWDB. Tune in again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio with Philadelphia Councilman David O.